Into the 4 horsemen of fear. This is where we're going to focus today. And some of you are like, I want tips, I want tricks. I'm like, we'll get into all that the next 2 days. But the first thing I need to do is talk to you about fear. I need to talk to you about overcoming those challenges, about where you are mentally, because if you don't overcome your mental challenges, the physical ones are nothing compared to that. That's usually what's keeping us back, is fear, is pushing forward. So we're going to talk about 4 different fears. As I said, Corey Wiltz calls them the 4 horsemen of fear: failure, ridicule, uncertainty, and success. Let's go ahead and top into failure. What's the fear of failure? It's saying, what if I'm not good enough? What if I can't make this work? What if I'm unworthy? Is anybody else here? By the way, if you look in here, if you've got the got the workbook, if it's in quotation marks, that's what you put in the workbook, and you can fill all this out so you can keep it and follow along. But anybody else here ever just feel unworthy? Let's go ahead and start changing our mindset right now. I want you to do me a favor and start typing in the chat, "I'm worthy." Can you do that for me? Just type in the chat, "I'm worthy," because you are, and we're going to talk more about that. But that's what the fear of failure is. It's saying that I'm not good enough. I can't make it work. And it's not even saying I can't. It's just that little, just there. It's like, what if? What if you can't do it? And the problem with the fear, the biggest challenge with the fear of failure, is that it keeps you from ever starting. You just never do anything. You don't even bother starting with what you want to, the process you want to do. You just, I might fail, so I'm not even going to bother. I might fail, so I'm not going to move forward. I might fail, so I'm not going to plan the trip. I might fail, so I'm not going to try. One of my favorite, some of you saw, I did a response video to her. Brandis Bradley. She's the makeup lawyer, makeup artist lawyer on TikTok. I can't remember her name exactly right now. But she was talking about going to Six Flags with her daughter for a school trip, being a chaperone. And she's a very confident big woman, and I love her. She's got like 170,000 people on TikTok. And she goes and she says, like, I'm not even going to, she's talking about the rides and not fitting and all, even when she was a little bit smaller. And she's like, I'm not even going to bother trying on any of the rides today. And so I very graciously, in the way that I do, challenged her on that. I made a video challenge her. Because here's the thing, when she's going out there doing it and not even willing to try it, it's not just about her, it's also about her daughter. Her daughter's like, is there seeing her not willing to try. Now, ultimately, she actually did try. Her best friend tried with her. They even made a video. They didn't fit, and that's okay, but they had a lot of fun doing it, and she set the example for her daughter. Like, parents especially, I want you to think about it this way. If your daughter or your son or whoever came to you, your best friend, if you don't have kids, came to you and said, you know what, I want to do this, but I'm scared and I'm not even going to bother trying it, right? I'm not even going to, I'm probably going to fail, so I'm not going to bother trying it. Would you accept that answer from them? You probably would not, especially if they're your child. You would say, you know what, sometimes in life we have to try things and we might fail, and that's okay. Because the only way that we actually end up living a life is on the other side of that trying. So how do you actually overcome fear? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to visualize. Like, it's a little cheesy. I know it's a little cheesy, but I want you to do it anyway. By the way, please keep sharing this. And share it to different groups. Share it to your page. I want to make sure as many people get this as possible. And it's going to be up until next Sunday night. Unless you're VIP, then you have permanent access. And again, you can register at challenge.fattestedtravel.com. But I want you to take a moment and visualize visualize failing. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, it's not fitting on a ride, whatever it may be. Visualize, okay, you failed. And make it emotional. Make it, don't just say, oh, I didn't fit. No, make it emotional. Make it like, this is something I've always wanted to do and it didn't work out. Not like skydiving, because if you jump and it doesn't work, that there's going to be a problem. But, other things. So what can you do in your life? What about the failure? What failure do you face that you think you're going to face? Like, really dive into it. Get emotional about it. That's how, the only way this really works is that you really dive in and think through this. And when you're in that headspace, when you see yourself failing, now I want you to think, all right, now you failed. A couple days have passed since you failed. It still hurts. You're still scarred. What have you learned from it? What did you learn from the failure? Because if you we always learn something. Unfortunately, too many people learn, well, I shouldn't try that again. Maybe you shouldn't try it in the same way. What'd you learn? Did you make any mistakes that were avoidable? Go through the whole process in your head over and over again. Is there anything that happened that was avoidable? What specifically contributed to your failure? See, what I want you to do when we're going through this is I'm going to give you some strategies to start thinking through it, to start realizing that you're trying things, and when you're preparing your mind for that future. A lot of times what actually happens is that our expectations are what ruin our lives. If you go in with an expectation, see, that here's part of the thing that I don't tell, that you've got to balance, and it's a hard balance. Type expectations for me, by the way, because I want you to, this is one of the most important things you can get. I did a whole video on what can ruin your Disney vacation the most is not having the right expectations. You want to expect good things, you want to do good things, but if your expectations are set wrong, then that's what will ruin your trip. So your expectation isn't that I'll fit on everything. Your expectation isn't that I will be able to make it ride everything. Your expectation is that I'm going to try, because that's what you can control in your life. That's something that you you can set forward, that I'm going to do this. You can set those expectations on yourself, but if other people if it's not in your control, don't set the expectation. Only set the expectation on what you can control. So, and then the big question you have to ask is, was it failure at all? Was this a failure? I didn't fit. Is that a failure? Is it a failure when I go and I ride, I say it failed the fat test. Is it really a failure? By the way, I take it off of me. I mean, like, oh, people are like, oh, you failed the test. I'm like, no, I set my standard. I get to do that. I'm a grown man, and I get to decide what the test is. The ride failed. Not Disney, not anybody else, just didn't work out. No entitlement. Not deserving to do it. I get very frustrated because, like, oh, you're pushing obesity, you demand all these places dive into what you want. And I'm like, no. Watch my videos. I'm just like, all right, here's the answer. Did it pass? Didn't pass. Let's go to the next thing. Was it really a failure in your that you had if it didn't work out, or was it something? Edison, I believe. I'm probably getting that name wrong. He's like he tried 10,000 different ways before he found the filament to work in the light bulb.